So what I want to talk about today is that a process is really important, right? And I know sometimes it's easier maybe just to walk in and kind of wing it and hope it works out, but you've got to understand with the process, there's so many boxes that get checked in terms of influencing the homeowner's decision to buy from you. And if we kind of jump around, there's a possibility we're gonna miss some of those check boxes. And you get to the end, and if there's something you haven't taken care of or addressed, or there's a door you haven't closed, it can really come up and bite you in the end, right? For example, we closed the door on the price bid with the product demonstration, with the North Carolina article, with the Department of Energy, and all those conversations. We really attack price. And during the course of all those conversations, we're getting our homeowner to acknowledge that price is not the most important thing. Now, again, when you think about it, when you're driving over to the house, the homeowners are having a conversation, we're going to get a cheap price. We're going to get a cheap price. You can't let that conversation they have between each other, or maybe just a conversation in their head, you can't let that conversation be the last conversation about price, right? Otherwise, when you get to the end, it's going to be about price, because that's what they've been thinking. The whole point of the process is to tear down those walls, right, and change their mind about price. And by demonstrating, proper load calculations, proper installations, choosing a trustworthy contractor, all these different things, as you begin to have those conversations throughout the process, little by little, it tears down their resistance to price. And they start acknowledging, which frankly, they probably knew before you got there, that buying an HVAC system based on the cheapest price is not a smart idea at all, right? So it doesn't take much encouragement for them to get them to admit that. And that's what those questions around those sections, Department of Energy, Consumer Reports, the North Carolina Alternative Energy Corporation, the product demonstration. And so those three sections of the process are designed to price condition, because as you talk to homeowners about price not being the most important, they're going to get the clue that you're probably not the cheapest price, right? It's another form of price conditioning in addition to the other things that you normally would do. But the whole point is, by the end of those three conversations, we've gotten our homeowner to acknowledge that price is not the most important factor, that they want to be in that 10%, and it's going to cost a little more, and that, at the product demonstration, they don't want you to cut the price by cutting the quality. If you get them to acknowledge those three things throughout the course of the presentation, keeping in mind, deep down, they know that price is not the most important factor anyway. That's just some bullshit they tell themselves so they can try to get your price down. It's pretty easy to convince them and to get them to acknowledge throughout the presentation that, hey, yeah, it probably isn't about price. Now, that single factor alone is going to have a huge impact on your success at the end. Now, if you forget everything else about the process, just by having a conversation with somebody, it's just like if you were sitting down and talking to your buddy, and your buddy says, hey, man, let's say he lives out of town, he calls you, hey, I've got an air conditioning company coming over, and I got 3 bids already. I got this one guy that's really cheap. Should I go with that guy? You're probably going to have a conversation with no, dude, you got to have proper sizing, proper installation. It's the same conversation. It's just more formal, but it's the same conversation you would have with your buddy or a family member if they were trying to buy the cheapest HVAC system, wherever they lived. We know it's not a good idea. So again, if you're talking to your brother-in-law about not buying the cheapest system, right? By the end of the conversation, he's going to say, oh, okay, Patrick, okay, Kyle, appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going to go with the middle guy, or I'm going to go with the high guy. You would have changed his mind about buying from that cheap guy, right? That's all you're doing in the house with your homeowner, is changing their minds about buying a cheap system, because it doesn't make any sense. Not when we're talking about heating and air conditioning, right? So that's one important part of the process, that if you follow the process, you won't ever forget to have those conversations, because it's right there on the page in front of you. And that's the beauty of having a process. You don't forget or omit important conversations, right? Let's talk about 3 bids, right? The 3 bid situation, we know it's a myth. And you know how we know it's a myth? Because everybody we know has gotten 3 bids for stuff before and still gotten screwed. Everybody you know, maybe even yourself at your own house, at some point got 3 bids and then had a problem with the contractor. The truth is, just the harsh reality is, 3 bids will not protect a homeowner. The only thing that will protect a homeowner is your company's good service, reputation, honesty, and those things. That's the only thing that's going to protect that homeowner. 3 bids will not protect them. So again, in that 3-bid conversation, which we have around the trial guarantee, the 1-year test drive, again, it's just like you're having a conversation with somebody and saying, do you really want 3 bids or do you want one company that's got your back, right? If you have that honest conversation, most people will say, well, no, I'd rather have one company that's got my back rather than, 3 random bids, right? So you've made that argument. And then, of course, on I want to think about it, the intention statement, let me know today whether or not we're a good fit, knows a perfectly acceptable answer. You kind of set the groundwork. So if you go into your close and they've admitted to you 2 or 3 times that price is not the most important, they've admitted to you that what they want is a company that will take care of them, not necessarily 3 random bids, and they can let you know today if you're a good fit, knows a perfectly acceptable answer, right? Just think of the impact those admissions that they make are going to have on your ability to close. I mean, it becomes very difficult for them to say, okay, well, I'm still going to get 3 bids. If they bring it up, you can say, well, earlier you said you preferred my company that would have your back over 3 bids, right? You remind them of those things. So I think that the first thing I wanted to kind of remind you guys of today is that the system serves a huge value to make sure that we don't forget to have those important conversations around 3 bids. I want to think about it in price, okay?